before that, FY17, a bull market climbing a wall of worries. Clearly, it was fueled by domestic liquidity. But Nigel, the global markets also rallied quite a bit this year.
That's right, Rima. So we were up close to around 17%. But you take a look at some of those developed markets. Well, the US markets, the Dow, that is, that was up close to around 17% approximately. The French, the CAC, all of them did very well. Anything between around 16 to around 22%. The Japanese index as well is in there with a gain of around 14%. But let's compare ourselves with the other emerging markets. So we're talking about the Russian, the Chinese index, as well as the Brazilian index. Now, in their home currency, we'll see that in fact the Brazilian index was up at by around 31%. The Russian index was up by close to around 30%. The important part, though, is in dollar terms, how did it do? Because remember, we saw a sharp appreciation in the Brazilian real as well as the Russian ruble. And in dollar terms, in fact, that gave you returns of close to around 51 to around 53% approximately. Remember, even the Indian rupee appreciated by around 2%. So you put that together, in dollar terms, we were up by close to around 21%. The Chinese index, in their home currency, it was up by close to around 7%. But we had depreciation of the currency over there. So the yuan did depreciate. So actually, for this fiscal, they've ended absolutely flat. Well, the Nifty, Anuj was just telling us about the best as well as, how well we have done. The best day really was the day, in fact, when L&T rallied a big deal. That was in May. That, in fact, we did see a rally of close to around 185 points approximately. The worst day really was 2 days after demonetization. So we woke up and, in fact, we ended with a cut of around 230 points. So Anuj told us about Hindalco. That was one of the biggest gainers on the Nifty. But take a look at some of those other gainers from the Nifty pack itself. Diversity really playing out there. We had a bank in there. We have, we have a metal index in there. We have the PSU banks. We have even Maruti in there with big gains. Clearly, the losers were some of those defensives. Idea was the big underperformer, was down more than 20%. We have Oro Pharma as well as Wipro there. Both of them getting a cut of around 10%. In terms of F&O gainers, Biocon, where in a year when you see pharma stocks selling off, that's really the big standout performer, up close to around 130%. And Sun TV and Century Textiles, finally, those stocks did move in the last year. In terms of F&O losers, well, you have the Wocards of the world that give you a big cut. Just Dial, after the dream run we have had, that was down by close to around 30%. But really, Rima, Anuj told us, small cap and mid cap, that's where your money really was made. Take a look at some of those themes that played out. Commodity-based stocks, Imfa, Tata Metallics, Jindal Hisar, Rain Commodities, all of them did very well. Naveen's been tracking the specialty chemicals business. So there you made what? Between 230 to around 500% approximately. And in terms of other stocks, Aptech, Escorts, they didn't move for a long time, for a few years, in fact. Those are, the stocks which Rakesh Jhunjhunwala has a good stake over there as well. They did very well. A couple of other stocks, something like a Needlewise, did very well. And finally, paper and sugar stocks give you returns of around 200 to around 430%. So clearly, mid-cap and small-cap space made you big money.